or whatever. The fishing thing's a big problem with me.
Why?
I'm so
What?
I'm. It's just a great thing. I just love fishing. I need to start doing fishing content. I'm just going to start doing it on my channel. I don't care. Everybody's like, you need to start another channel if you can do fishing. I'm like, no, I'm not. When I was a kid, we had the sportsmen.
Right.
You know, they shot guns and they hunted with a bow and they fished for trout, and then they went to Alaska and they knew how to tie knots and put up a tent. Now we have man in small box who knows a shitload about one damn thing, and we prefer to keep him there. I line testing and all that. There's a lot of problems. People just don't understand.
There's a lot missing out on it, to be honest with you. People just don't get it when it comes to the fishing content. You know what I'm saying? I think that a lot
Oh,
of it gets it's missed and overseen,
yeah.
because us as very avid sportsmen, we're not only hunters but also fishermen too. So like, why would we not share that all at the same time?
Oh, I shot the. Listen, I have an over and under in the safe that's like 40 or 50 years old. I shot the triggers out of it, shooting skeet and trap. That's a lot of shooting to shoot the trigger sears out. I had to have the gun completely rebuilt. That's how much I shot it. I had a reloader, the whole 9 yards. And
Wow.
oh, so now I shoot a 410 over and under for doves and stuff. And
I
if
thought
you're
you only shot bow and arrows.
no, yeah, right. To your point, that's why I need to start putting up different content.
That's right. That's right. Well, we are live with the Ranch Fairy. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
I don't know. I'm a dad, kind of a boring dad guy who has a job with 3 kids. I have a mortgage and car payments and crap I got to make happen, keep care of the ranch. Um, so I am pretty boring, except for the not boring part. Relatively normal guy. I've got 3 grown kids, and they're good, 2 good dudes and 1 kick-ass lady. I love my daughter. Been married for 30. Is Julie here? Yeah, 32 years, I think. I don't know. Once you get past 3 decades, it's all blends together. My wife's awesome. And the short story is I killed a really good deer in 2008. I lost interest in shooting whitetail deer, and I had kids at the same time. I'm kind of a weird dude. You'll figure that out. And if you have seen any of my content, you know I'm a little bit off the wall. But I used to be a big time shark fisherman off the beach. I caught a 9.6 tiger. I caught an 8.2 bull, and I quit. I was like, big enough. I'm gonna go do something else. So I hunt, kill a 155-inch deer, low fence, none of the genetic crap that goes on down here, legit deer. And I lost it, and I had kids at the same time. And then here comes the kids, and we killed a ton of deer. I just was there, but I wasn't shooting. My boys were raised and daughter were raised on the ranch, and but I love shooting feral hogs with bow and arrow. And I stopped just shooting pigs, and I started hunting the big ones, just like you guys are trail cams trying to find a deer, try to kill a certain deer, type of deer, whatever it is, whatever challenge you've got, elk, whatever freaking, floats your boat. And I started letting them pass and tried to shoot the big ones. And I struggled, killing them. I had every broadhead. I had a fast bow. I was shooting stock stuff. And I was probably 50% on pigs over 200 pounds. And I'm shooting at a deer feeder where they walk in circles around it, and you can just take whatever shot you want. And I was like, well, that's bull crap, because I got guns. And just a precursor, I came out of the womb with a fishing rod and a gun. Right when I came out. Like, they had to take them out of my hands. They delivered me, and they had to take the gun and the fishing rod out of my hands.
So
And
before
that's
they
not
slapped
explainable.
you,
Doesn't the
before they
Second
slapped
Amendment
you,
protect that?
Oh, it's not explainable. It's always been there. I'd rather do that than work. And I've risked my employment a couple times for fishing and hunting. So about 2010, I got pissed off, and I was reading Dr. Ed Ashby's Natal study, and I had nothing to lose. I was already not really successful. So I had no reason not to build a howitzer, a Cape Buffalo arrow, and start shooting it. Well, I didn't do that. I walked it up. When I got to 550 grains and a 2-blade broadhead, I started shooting through them, and the arrow would go 40 yards past them, and I started killing them. And I went, because I had a lot of experience of suffering, long blood trails, night, all that crap. So on a whim with no business plan, I was already calling myself the Ranch Fairy for working at the ranch and doing all the stuff that the ranch requires to my family. I thought that was a great name to just put my thumb in everybody's eye in the tough guy bow hunting world. And I started my channel and started talking about higher velocity, higher momentum platforms, hand sharpened broadheads, high quality steels, arrow tuning, arrow flight. Got into in the last couple of years, got into the deep science of it. And the only explanation I have for being on a podcast with anyone is there must have been an unmet need that no one could see. That's the only explanation for me having any platform. I thought I'd have 1,500 subscribers and be that guy nobody talks to. So it got out of hand. It got a little out of hand.
A little bit.
Yeah. So it's been fun. It's been a good time. I'm really like fishing. We'll talk about that. We were talking about that before we started. Shooting signs with a pistol out of a moving car. I like doing that too. You can't do that anymore.
I don't recall that conversation.
That was over 7.5 years ago, so we're good.
It's legal beagle now.
The statute of limitations has passed. So, that's my short story.
Those signs are long gone by now.
Yeah, they are. They are.
So are those memories.
The lovely memories. 45 auto in the car. Bing, 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 going 70. It's awesome.
I think that's life, right? Like, it's the untalked about things that nobody talks about, right? We all are those at one point, right? Like, I'm going to incriminate myself. I'm just going to stop now. I think it's probably better.
No, it's just, you know what it is? You're just full of piss and vinegar and testosterone, and you have tons of energy, and you don't have a brain.
Right.
I mean, I'm watching my neighbor's kid. He's always been a very organized first child. He hair's perfect and all that crap, and he turned 12. The kid's lost his goddamn mind. He's doing the dumbest stuff, and I'm laughing. I'm like, yes, you lost your brain. It's great. He got a motor. His dad bought him a little motorcycle, like a 100cc motorcycle, and he just leaves the neighborhood and goes hauling ass. Drives 5 miles down the road, and his dad's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, once he leaves sight, you can do that. It's not a good idea, but we didn't die.
What's he really bothering at that point, right? If you're just a kid,
yeah.
I mean, the only way you learn, and if you survive, it's like survival of the fittest. If you survive those things, then you've learned, right? Like if you don't go to prison and you don't die, you're gonna be fine, right? Like this is life. This is how these things go.
Oh, his dad's been just like, I can't believe he did it. I'm like, I can. What the hell are you talking about, man? We all did stupid stuff.
I'd be proud of him.
Was it Jordan Peterson says, teach kids to do dangerous things, safely, teach them the right way. I'll give you an example. So when I was before I could drive and stuff, you're always wondering what would happen if you threw ammo in the fire. I don't know if y'all wondered this. I did. So me and my buddies grabbed a whole handful, not 2 or 3, a whole handful of 22 shells. We had a big bonfire going. We threw them in the fire, and we stood right next to it. I assure you, the brass comes out hot and fast when it starts going off. The bullets sit still because it's physics. The light part shoots out. But when they hit your skin, it certainly could put your eyes out, right? It burns you bad, and they're hauling ass. So what I did with the kids when they were little, I said, here's how you do this properly. And I made every kid get a handful of 22 shells and walk up to the fire. And I said, throw them in and run. And get back like 30 yards. And it goes off. Nothing happens. Guess what? They never do it again.
Because they saw how it works.
I've never had a kid do it again. I'll see them take their buddy out and say, you got to see this, but you can't stand by the fire because it'll hurt you. And they throw them in the fire and they run back. And I'm like, okay. That's doing stupid stuff, moderately safe, Because I stood literally like, I wonder what's going to happen. And I mean, boom, 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 boom. It's bad Roman candles.
The other thing that we used to do is we used to take chicken noodle soup, the canned chicken noodle soup without the pop top, and you put it in the fire, and then it would build up combustion inside of it, and then would blow up. Oh. You can do it with baked beans. You can do it with all that stuff.
Sounds like a waste of chicken noodle soup.
Oh, yeah. Just open your mouth and I hope you don't get a mental piece.
It'd be cooked. It'd be warm. It'd be perfect.
Yeah. So tell me a
just-
little bit about y'all's hunting experiences and what do y'all do? Are y'all tree swingers and all that stuff, public romp around guys, or what?
We do it all, buddy.
We do it all. It doesn't
You
matter.
name it.
If it flies, it dies. If it walks, it's dead
You're
too.
shooting at it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
We just like killing things. Yep. Killing
Yep.
is our thing for sure.
I'm gonna get into the predator thing now. I'm gonna start shooting raccoons and coyotes more.
Listen, Ranch Fair, I say this all the time. I say I would shoot your grandmother's house cat if you let
Oh,
me
boy.
do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Here we go again.
yeah, right. I'm with you there.
I mean, it is what it is, right?
This is why they make suppressors. Click. Oh, flopping. Yeah.
But my one rule is if you kill it, you got to eat it, no matter what it is.
Mhm.
Learn that from a young age, no matter what. Even if it is a house cat, you got to eat it once.
Yeah. I
So
had Chinese food tonight.
tell me how if is bear any good, or is bear something like you eat it and you say, well, that's pretty good for bear.
I'm gonna let
Like-
Steve fill this in.
Yeah, there. It's not. It's got a bad it can have a bad reputation. I'm not gonna rave about it, but I find it best to supplement it. So like sausage, add a little flavor, something like that. Like, but I'm kind of not as bad. Even like venison. Like I'm not a huge fan of venison steak, just
Me
straight
either.
steak.
No.
I'd rather have beef. Give me a T-bone, a ribeye, something with some
Mhm.
fat and some flavor. Now burger, I prefer venison burger over hamburger. And then on the bear side, I prefer sausage.
So I've never eaten a white-tailed deer that gets fed proper. Like I've never eaten a deer from the Midwest that has fields and stuff. Our deer scrounge around a lot. They
Same.
eat a lot of oats and rough stuff, and not like I've never eaten a corn-fed deer or milo or whatever the hell they're eating. And sorghum, all the stuff that I see, like the hunting public guys, there are always videos and there's these fields of those deer just walk out there and eat all that stuff and go back in the woods. I've never had a deer like that. So our deer aren't really good. I mean, I don't like them. Backstrap's great. My wife's kick ass with that, and tenderloins, of course. But the rest of it, I just sausage the whole damn thing. I don't even worry about it. It's just not. But maybe if I got one from the Midwest, I'd change my mind. I should have shot one in North Dakota when I was with the tether guys a couple of years ago, because those deer were eating green beans. I mean, they were so fat. And because I'm a dumbass and a private guy, I have no mentality on public. I'm just like, well, we can get them tomorrow. Well, no, you need to be aggressively shooting, Fowler. And I'd never shot a deer on public. And the first night I had 5 does. I mean, one of them was 10 yards. I should have just shot a deer on public and just said, okay, deer won. I killed a deer. Nah, let him pass, What an idiot. But I don't spend a lot of time on the public thing. I spend a lot of time talking to people about it and about shot angles and some of the stuff y'all have to face and random ranges. And it's a pretty dynamic shooting situation for y'all.
Well, I mean, I know you travel, but you're in Texas, which is what, 98% privately owned or something like that. So, I mean, I imagine you have to drive 10 hours to find public land.
Yeah, you do. There's a decent big forest about 4 hours from here, and then way down south there's some public that has nilgai on it and stuff like that I need to go down and chase them around. They say it's a legit hunt, but we don't. I've hunted a lot out west with tags for public, rifle, bow, all that stuff, the Gila in New Mexico, and a lot of Colorado stuff. But that's different. That's different deal altogether, especially when you're gun hunting. I killed a pretty good mule deer this year out there with a rifle. But it was snowing, knee deep snow, snowed all day. One of those hunts. It's like when you read in the magazine that you're in knee deep snow, it snowed all day, finally broke, and you find the deer at a mile and it gets dark. You come back the next day, it snows for 3 hours, breaks, you find him again, you go around, had to stalk in for like half a mile, find a place to shoot from. Like it was totally legit, right?
Uphill both ways.
Uphill both ways. But I did kill him near the road. It wasn't that bad. But it was
That's awesome, though.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah, and going back on it, honestly, so there's a big difference. So, like, we get a lot of whitetails that, same thing, forage kind of on browse, eat shrubs, stuff like that. But then there is a big difference. So, like, probably for you, too, honestly, Troy, is like the whitetail. They're not the greatest thing to eat, like you said, but, like, especially a big rutting buck. Like,
Yeah, right. Of course, big rutting, anything. My son killed a big old elk, and it was wow. It was elastic.
really?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't.
See, I shot a big rutting, actually two big rutting deer in the Midwest, and it was like veal. It was just tender,
Really?
tasty. Like, honestly, sling arrows at does out there just because they taste so darn good just to
Yeah,
put
right.
meat in the
That's what I'm
freezer.
saying. I think
You
if I
know?
had, like axis deer here, axis deer eat anything, so
Okay.
they can graze like a cow. Their stomachs can handle it. Because I don't know if people know this, you can actually hay deer to death. So you can take cut hay that's not green
Mm-hmm.
and give it to whitetail deer, and they will die. Their
Ooh.
stomachs can't break it down.
Do
Mule
they
deer,
know that? So they'll eat it not knowingly,
yeah,
like they think
they're
it's
just
good,
starving. Yeah.
yeah. And
Like
what is this?
if you have green
Was this
alfalfa, they'll pick the green out and they'll be fine.
no nutritional value? So they're filling.
Their stomachs can't do the work.
Oh,
Their stomachs can't break it down.
oh.
But an axis deer can browse like a deer, and then when that goes to hell, or when it's green, they can graze and eat a bunch of stuff that a deer cannot. And then if it gets really bad, then they can eat dead stuff, and their stomachs can do it. So they have a wider range of things they can eat, and that's why they take over. But they're yummy.
I've
Are
heard.
they?
And I think it's like a yard chicken. If you've ever had a yard chicken and cooked it as opposed to the chickens you buy at the store, give me the yard chicken that's been eating freaking cockroaches. That some bitch is awesome. And I think it's just the varied diet, right? Obviously, there's differences in animals and stuff, but it's nothing like a whitetail deer. It's really, really good.
Is it still that red color?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Really?
And black buck antelope. Oh, I love those things. So they're so small, you just grab them by the back feet and you put them in the truck. That's the best because they're not a big pain in the ass to clean them. And that meat is real light colored, and God, is it good. You can do anything to a black buck. It's phenomenal. They're only like 70 pounds. Pick them up by the back legs, throw them in the truck, drive to the camp, hang them up easy.
Kind of like the deer you shoot, Trev.
Yeah.
Or,
I
no.
like the little ones.
It's like the deer we shoot in Texas. If we kill a 120-pound deer on our ranch, you've killed a damn giant. I call them Jimmy Buffett deer. We're so close to the coast that they're skinny and lean, you know? You're getting ready for the heat.
Listen, I'm not 280 pounds of man without eating good food. Let's be honest here. Like, I don't care.
You shoot 80-pound deer and just eat the whole thing in one sitting. You're fine.
Yeah, whatever, dude. There's like some barbaric caveman shit, Like, if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it. Grab the whole hind quarter and gnaw on that thing. Like, what's the problem?
Go for it. Yeah, it's good stuff. I've had a lot of fun out here. It's a good place to live.
Were you born and raised there in Texas? Just always
I was
been there
born
your
about
life?
90 miles from here. I live in Austin, and I understood that there were other states, but I never went there. What the hell did I do that for? And I literally didn't leave the state for. I think I went to Florida when I was 12 or something with my parents. We just didn't. We had ranches to go to, fish in the river, ran around. I just didn't leave. And so yeah, I'm born and raised right where I live. 80, 90 miles from here.
Well, Texas is its own country. Like, virtually, you can do just about anything that you want to do there. I mean, there's no laws, there's no nothing. I mean, you just
some laws. I will say that you can't say COVID anymore, but the worst time in human history, we kind of just went. Yeah, I understand that there's something going on. I went to North Dakota in the middle of that. Like in the middle of 21, and when you got north of Oklahoma City, it didn't exist. Nobody was doing anything. You just go in the stores, everybody's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" It was so freaking hilarious. All them small towns and Dakotas and stuff.
That's funny that you say that. So I had traveled to Dallas for the SCI Dallas Safari Club, and so I go down there and I get off the plane. Now, mind you, it's the heart of it, right? And so I get off and everybody's looking at me like I'm from some foreign country because I'm wearing a mask, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so, you go to shows, and everybody's going. What do they do after the show? They all go out for beers,
Yeah.
dinner, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, I don't know, this might be weird. We show up to this honky tonk in downtown Texas, dude, and there's got to be 2,000 people in there, people
Nobody
dancing,
cares.
kissing, whatever, man. Like,
Yeah.
it was just like there's a band playing. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is real world. Like, I could kiss the ground. Like, this is the
Yeah.
greatest place in the world.
We
Like,
didn't. There was some of it, but I walked around with. I didn't put anything on. The only thing I did was I took the lens out of my welding helmet just to be an asshole, and I would walk around like Walmart with a welding helmet on and my sunglasses. So I put sunglasses on and a welding helmet with no lens, and walk around in Walmart shopping with a cart. And I don't need to go shopping. I just want to be that butthole with a welding mask on. It was awesome. You saw these old dudes like giving me the little thumbs up, like, "Ooh, that's really good." I had so much fun with the welding helmet. I was in. Oh, it was so much fun.
that is so cool. That is so cool. And so tell me a little bit about the fishing. I want to talk about this because honestly, Troy, this is something that you don't talk about at all.
Yeah, I need to start doing more content on that. I've got a really bad fishing problem. Like, it's way worse than the archery thing. So for the audience, I started off talking about the high Florida Center and it's heavier arrow platforms, arrow tuning and all that stuff. And I've gone into the science side with lab radars and studying momentum and all that stuff. And it's really getting deep into the nerd world. And so I don't have hunting content, and I fish a ton, like bass. I caught a 10-pound bass. I set out a goal in 18 to catch a 10-pound bass. I caught one in 21 in the middle of the crap. I just went on the lakes anyway, and I caught a 10.5, and I'm after another one. I have a lake that has them, and it owes me for all the hours I've spent out there. Like, there's some bitch owes me. My wife was like, "Why do you keep going back there?" Because it owes me. And I did not catch the 10 out of there. So I'm after another 10, and I'm after a 30-inch speckled trout, which I have not caught. I've caught some high 20s. That's a Texas thing. Big, giant speckled trout's a very isolated thing in South Texas, and it's a thing down here.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the country doesn't know about it. I mean, it's just a Texas thing. That's where I'm going tomorrow, fishing for a whale. And I grew up shark fishing on the beach when I was a kid. We used to kayak baits out as big as your thigh, big weights, and fish were giant, just whatever. And caught a bunch of big sharks, caught a lot of sharks. You have to get in the water with them and tail rope them to get them on the beach. Because we fished with 50-pound mono back then. You don't have enough strength to pull a 300-pound fish on the beach. So when the shark is within 40 yards of the beach or something, you take a rope and you go. And you're waist deep with a shark. And you get him to swim right in front of you. You grab the line, you let it go over the top of you. And when he swims by, you rope his tail and pull it out of the water. And then you go to the beach with him and drag him in. Oh,
Seen that at the rodeo.
Oh, do not let his tail go in the water. He will throw you will end up with your back on the bottom. Do not and ask me how I know.
How do you know?
How do you know?
How do you know?
Because I let the tail drop one time and they swim. Woo!
Son of a bitch. No way.
That son of a bitch is strong. And caught a 9.6 tiger, caught a big bull, caught a bunch of other sharks, quit doing it. And part of that was kids, and part of that is the young man's game. And I'm 55. And you get to the point where you just don't want to kayak in 4-foot seas anymore. It's a lot of work to get the baits out because the baits aren't physically big enough to cast. So you put them in a kayak, and then somebody free spools the reel, and you paddle it out, and you drop it. And then you let them know you dropped it, and then they reel up tight, and we got rod holders, and you sit there and wait. And but I'm still a big light tackle fisherman in the surf. And I really like bass fishing and really like saltwater fishing. Really shallow stuff.
So that speckled trout thing, like it's just specifically in the area that you live in, Troy?
Well, speckled trout are from the tip of Texas all the way up to the Carolinas, and I think they're all the way up to where y'all are, just south of there.
So we call them weak fish, or what is
Right.
the
It's
other?
not the
What
same one.
it's
There's something
not.
called a Corvina, but I don't know if we have those here. I think they're across the pond, and they may be the same thing. So a speckled trout is a weak fish. It looks the same. It's got that crazy tiger face, big teeth up
Yes.
front, kind of crazy looking eyes, long
What is
and slender.
what's the we call them up here? We Oh my god, I can't think about it. It's a weird name. Weezawog, Weekapaw. I don't remember. They got a weird name for them up here. I
Mm,
don't know what they call them. I'd have
some
to look it
local name.
up.
It's like we call red drum. We just call them redfish.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
just a
same.
redfish, right? They have
Yep.
some name, right? And the speckled trout thing, Texas has done a good job with the bass. Everybody kind of knows that we've got this share lunker program. So if you catch a 13-pound bass or bigger in the state, there's dudes on call 24/7 with a truck and a tank and oxygen, and they will come get it any time of day, and they don't care how far they have to drive.
Oh, they'll buy them?
No, they pick them up. They take them back to this fish hatchery in Athens, Texas, which is sort of in the middle of Texas, there's a lot of middle, and they take the fish back, put it in their tanks, and they breed them, and they get the eggs, and they get the fry, and they put them back in the lakes. So it's
So,
like, yeah, they filled a whole lake full of just share lunkers, and in like eight years, they're just whaling on them, 16-pounders and stuff. It's ridiculous.
is yours
What?
yellow mouthed?
Yes, yeah, the speckled
Okay.
trout are yellowmouth, right?
Yellow
They're
mouth.
real.
Okay.
They have real soft mouth. They're real aggressive. They'll hit top water. They'll hit plastic. They'll hit jerk baits. They're super fun to fish for. They're very bass-like. They like structure. They like current. They like corners. They get on grass edges. They're very much like a bass. If you think about bass fishing and apply it in saltwater when you're in pretty clear water and you can see what's on the bottom, because you're fishing, nut deep or something. You don't fish real deep. And you just start picking the targets apart. It's just like bass fishing. It's
Squeakateague?
I don't know.
Squeague.
Wow, I don't even know what the hell that is.
So it's a weak fish. It's the same. It's just another name. Weak fish, squeakateague, bastard trout, bastard weak fish, common weak fish, gray weak fish, chickwick
But you
is
sent me
another
pictures of some big ass stripers, right?
big. Yeah, we have big stripers up here. Yeah, yeah.
Are you in the salt?
Yeah, we have salt. Yeah, we are on the.
Are you fishing like offshore in a boat, or are you doing that crazy crap with them dudes swim out there in the wetsuits and flog around with them band
So it's a
stall reels and all
mix.
that?
We have all that stuff here. So
Oh,
we rock
mm-hmm.
jump, we reverse surf cast, we fish off boats, light tackle, heavy tackle. I'm going striper fishing tomorrow, buddy. I'm going
I
out in the
haven't
ocean
done
striper
that.
fishing tomorrow.
I've been striper fishing here, but our stripers are stocked and they don't breed.
Let me tell you something, Troy. You come here between the 15th of July and September 1st, and I can guarantee you, if we fish for 3 days, we will put you on a 50-pound fish.
Oh, okay. Well, I may have to do that.
He's gonna leave Texas. Could you imagine Ranch Ferry?
The only thing is you got to wear your mask when you come up here.
Yeah, I'll wear my welding helmet. It's official. I'll put face mask on the front of my welding helmet. It clears it. It makes it a face mask.
Here in the Blue Mountains of Liberalville, you really need that.
Oh, you poor things. I'm sorry. It's freaking retards. I can't say retard anymore, by the way.
Oh.
Can't go full retard.
Never go
Nobody
full
goes
retard.
full retard.
All right, Range Fair, I got a quick question. Do real fishermen use ugly sticks?
Yeah. Some people do. I can't do it anymore because I've learned too much about rod actions and all that stuff. But yeah, I guess you could get away with it. I actually caught my 9.6 Tiger on one, so you can make fun of me for that.
Oh, we have between the outdoor drive team, we have a big joke. So there's a couple of the boys that use ugly sticks, and I'm like, you're not a real fisherman if you use an ugly stick. And I bust their balls so bad. Like at one point, I was sponsored by G. Loomis and Shimano, and
of course.
And then these guys are using ugly sticks. And I'm like, we are not on the same level. We cannot fish together. Like,
yeah, you're just a self-righteous butthole after that. If you're sponsored by Loomis, I mean, come on, man. I've been messing with. I'm trying to find an all around rod, because when you're wade fishing, you may throw a 16th ounce jig head or a super spook.
Right.
It's super hard, so you need like a medium heavy rod, 7 feet long or so, with a soft tip on it that can do all of it, and it's hard to find. And I have one rod from Academy, the H2O Express house brand rod that's freaking awesome, and I can't find it. It was $60. If I could find it again, I'd buy 10 of them and be done with it.
Right.
But yeah, the ugly sticks. If you're trolling or whatever, come on, man. Doesn't really matter. But if you're fishing, ugly sticks probably not your deal.
Yeah, because you know, and it's funny is all right. So we can relate this to arrows, because a lot of people are probably listening to this podcast for arrows, and they're probably like, "Why are we talking fishing? Like it's range fairy."
I'm
right?
one of those people.
Yeah. Steve's like, yeah, what's up? We'll get there, Steve. We'll get there. Calm down in the background, big man. So to relate it, like a really good fishing pole, no matter what the brand is, it's you know, you're talking sensitivity, your hookup ratio, the quick, you know, where the rod bends, you know, your sensitivity, your backbone. There's a lot of things that are in that, and now you can relate that to arrows, spine on arrows, penetration. I mean, you work your ass off to be able to have all of those things in an arrow. Why wouldn't you want them in a fishing rod? Like when you're working a lure and say it's a topwater spook, when you jerk it, you want it to take the whole entire thing, or you snap it. You want that sensitivity to be able to feel every single bite, and that's what you're doing in that rod.
Absolutely. And then in the arrow platforms, you want them to all be the same.
Yeah.
So that's where we'll dive right in, because I'll just say this: the hardest thing in this stupid sport is arrow flight. Perfect arrow flight takes a ton of work. And to go back to the fishing rods, I spent $2,500 on fishing rods over the last 6 months trying to find the right sticks. And I took a bunch of them back to Bass Pro and stuff because they just weren't the right stuff. I would literally have them in my hand for 5 minutes and go, nope, take it back, right? But
should have stuck with the ugly stick. You've been all right.
Should have stuck with the ugly stick and just lived with it. You can't do that with your arrows. They won't take back the ones that have been cut to 28 and a half inches long and say, hey, these things just don't work. So that's the biggest of all the stuff I've done, trying to figure out how the hell to get a stick to go through a deer or an elk, and all the way through a deer or an elk. Making it fly right is really a ton of work, and a lot of people don't want to do it. And it's super hard. It's to really get it right and get the whole. Here's the trick: all of them, not one, all of them. For instance, I got my big boy arrows right here. These are my 715 grain Ed Ashby specials. These are 11 factor arrows. These are JB welded together. The inserts are JB welded in the shaft, and the broadheads are JB welded on. They are not coming apart ever. Okay, full send, right? They are knock tuned. See my little mark there? See that? There's no knocking it. See that mark right there? Here's the other one. Whoa! See that mark? So I've got 5 of them. I shot the whole dozen and knock tuned and bare shafted every single one of them before I put the fletchings on. And they fly like darts. And look how little them things are. That's a 2-inch long feather, 1/2 inch tall, AA cut, flat in the back. And tiny fletchings for Mogumbo 400 grain broadhead. Well, 400 with the insert. And now every time I get a dozen arrows, I go, this sucks. Because I can't do it anymore. I can't just shoot them fletched and call it good. Because I've seen the difference in broadhead accuracy, not field points. So that's the biggest thing. Once you jump off the bridge, that's the hardest thing to accomplish is the set. Not one through paper. Hey, the old 400 spine, we bent the cams a little bit, put a torque wrench on it, flip the cams and flip the wing dingers. One arrow went through the paper clean. You got 9 more. They may not do it. They may launch differently. And once I figured that out, it's like, oh, this sucks. I can't believe how many test kits and stuff we sell. There's a lot of people putting in the reps. I thought that would not work.
So explain the test kits, just for those that don't know, because I think that we have a lot of people on there. Like, now, mind you, like Troy, I've had you on the podcast a long time ago, talked it. So a lot of our listeners, a lot of our stuff, it was almost. I don't even think we've had you on the drive. It was East Coast bow hunting.
It was East Coast.
Yep.
Because I met you guys at ATA a long time ago.
16,
16, 18?
Something like that. Yeah. So it's been a while. But so a lot of, I think, our listeners, and we don't really talk about this a lot. I mean, I talk about how I've done it, 806, 709. Like, I've messed around and played with it. But let's dive into it. Like, talk about the test kit, the whole 9 yards, the reason why, like, just spill the beans.
So I have a pretty deep trad background, and I've hunted with flip points and all that crap and killed stuff with them. And when I went trad for about a decade, there was no internet. You could just get, there was the beginnings of the internet with the doo-doo-doo.
This was back when we used to use CBs.
Right. Coming out of CDs. And there was a write-up by a guy, and I don't know his name, and he had talked about how you bear shaft tune a longbow, which is you get a full-length arrow and a saw. And I'm right-handed, and you want the shaft to go to the right. That means it's soft. So let's say you put 300 grains on the front, and you decide your arrow platform is going to be 550 with shaft X. You pull your longbow back, and you want it to go right, even if it's sideways. It doesn't matter. Soft. You start cutting it. As you cut it, it stiffens. This is how the trad guys do it, the real trad guys. There's a bunch of guys out there who just shoot their arrows and call it good. That's not a good idea. So all of a sudden you get to the point where you're cutting inches off, and then it starts to straighten up, and you start taking quarter inches off. And all of a sudden it hits a length for, say, you're shooting a 50-pound longbow and a 400 spine arrow, and at 28, I got it written here somewhere, 26. I shoot real hunched up, shooting a longbow. 26 3/4 inches with a 400 spine Sirius Apollo will bear shaft 40 yards. It's hard to believe when you start cutting it. And all of a sudden it just hits whatever plumb is, and boom. And then you fletch it, and boom, and broadheads flying, everything. So nobody wants to do that with compound. Fine. So what I tried to do was redneck the thing. I have to accept there are 1,000 bow platforms out there. Velocities are all over the place. People's maintenance is all over the place. Strings are stretched. Cables are all over the place. I'm trying to help average people like me who are just dumbasses trying to shoot something with a bow and arrow figure this crap out. And one of the ways you can do that is change the point mass, and it bends the shaft differently. When you shoot 100 grain point, it's going to be stiffer launching than a 200 grain point because it's shoving something heavier, and the shaft takes off, and it may bend this much with 100, and it may bend like that with a 200 grain point. And we don't know which bending rate the bow wants to eat. It's kind of like you get a new rifle, you buy 4 boxes of, you decide you're not hand loading. So you buy 4 boxes of ammo with 100, say it's a 30-06. You got some 150s, 180s. You go to the range, you shoot, and one of them is, ice cream. I've got a 30-06 that likes 165 core lock, and it'll shoot them right in the same hole. And other stuff shoots like that. You're not going to miss a deer. But if you can get it to go in the same hole or shoot that big, I'm going in the same hole, and it's core lock, so it's cheap, right? Cheap, relative. My 264 wants the most expensive damned ammo on the planet. I hate that gun. I mean, I love that gun, but for that reason, I don't like spending money. Anyway, so I said, okay, can we take so in a test kit on the ranch, I have a store at Serious Archery. They're just search Ranch Raider store. It's easier. And look at the test kits and say, I shoot 65 pounds at 28.5. If you have the same draw length, I would say get a 300 spine and a 250,
Mm.
2-year draw length, and then we have a kit of points: 100, 125, 150, 175, and 200. And you get it, put paper up, 7 yards, and you shoot and change the point. And you're changing the launch conditions of the shaft every time you change the point. And it allowed me to broadly help a bunch of people with bows that I don't understand, and I don't have them in my hand, and say, you need strings, bro. Like, that thing's all stretched out. Or my adapts inside. I have the Hunting Public Adapt. It's a single cam, like a Matthew solo cam. Never sell a switchback. Pro tip. So
Still got mine. I still got mine. I'll never get rid
sell,
of it.
Never sell the damn thing. They'll shoot anything.
Yeah.
They're slow.
No, it has a special place in my heart, and
Right.
nobody else will ever own that bow. That is
Right.
mine till I go to my grave.
No, never.
You can
sell a
bury me with
switchback.
it,
If you're
actually.
gonna, hey, anybody in the audience, if you're gonna sell a switchback, call me. I'll buy
Yeah.
it from you. So, and don't raise the price on me, because. So, let's say you got a 70-pound switchback, and then you've got a 70-pound 2024 flagship dual cam. You're talking about a launch velocity difference of 40 or 50 feet per second, just
Easily, yeah.
easily,
Yeah.
right? Just easy.
Yeah. You're talking about IBO.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't even matter. Jules, you could see it if you stood them side by side.
Right.
You wouldn't even
Yeah.
know. You could just see it was a lot faster, right? So those launch conditions are completely different. So it's a 70-pound bow at 28.5 inches, and you look on some stupid calculator, but you're shooting a switchback. And it says, oh, my God, for the wrench fair arrow, you need a 250. You're wrong.
Yep.
You probably need a 300.
But most of the
'cause it's
time,
softer.
you need the IBO rating for the bow in that calculation anyways, right? So it'll be 28 inches at 70 pounds with an IBO at 344, or 28 inches at 70 pounds with an IBO rating of.
So I haven't. I don't
306.
know that. I don't look at the calculators. Are they that detailed? Did they ask me that?
I'm pretty sure you need the IBO rating of the bow, because, like you just said, the IBO rating of that bow is going to be significantly different. Like you said, 70 pounds, 28 inches. If you got a switchback that's a 306 and a VXR that's 344,
Yeah, right.
they are not the same.
So they won't shoot this. They probably won't shoot the same arrow.
Right.
And I've tried to outstiff my bow too. I've put 200s and 150s on it, and they fly okay. But a 250 spine for my bow, which is an elite, it's a couple of years old. I don't remember which one it is, but it doesn't matter. It's a moderately fast bow. It's not super fast, not super slow. 250 spine, 100 grain insert, 200 grain point, and that's where it's like magic. It's like, okay, I'm going to shoot that. And then you just flush them up, they shoot. So that's why what I tried to accomplish was all these different platforms, all these different velocities, all these different rates. How do you help everybody try to figure it out? How do I help the largest number of people with all of these bow platforms have a chance in hell of tuning a bow or tuning an arrow? Because bow tuning thing sounds like black magic to me, because takes a lot of tools and some real dedication. And the guys who I get a lot of hate on this idea with the test kits, because they say all you do is flip the fling dingers and twist the cams and all that. That's the top 5% of the people out there with drawboard and stuff. It's not the other 80% of us, 85% of us. So that's what I tried to do with the test kits, and it seems I've got the pictures to prove it. I've got multiples of people that send me pictures, and they've got 3 different arrows at bullet hole.
Okay, that was my. All right, I'm a little confused. I got questions. So you got your test kit, 7 yards shooting through paper.
Mm-hmm.
Your bow's already, we'll call it paper tuned with said arrow, right? So as soon as you start playing with the test kit, what are you looking for? Because say my bow's paper tuned with a 100 grain tip, and
what spine arrow are you shooting? 350 or 400 or what?
We'll say 300.
Okay.
Just for argument's sake, I feel like most people are shooting 300. Some should be shooting 250, but 300 is probably the most common, right? So
350 is the most common. But go ahead.
Okay. So my point is you're starting somewhere with a paper tune bow with some kind of configuration. So as you start playing with the paper with the test kit, you're gonna start getting a tear. So what are you looking for to improve?
Did you paper tune with fletched or bare shaft?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm a little confused, because
so this is the thing.
If you're already starting paper tuned as you play, you're going away from paper tune. So how do you bring it?
We're going to paper bare shaft.
Okay.
So most people paper tune fletched. You would not believe the amount of correction that fletching does, and will give you a good tear, and a damn thing's flying sideways. Excuse me, not flying sideways. It launches just a little, and then the fletchings grab it, and then by the time it gets to the paper,
right,
it's corrected some. By the way, the arrows don't stop doing this. They say for 100 yards. Fun, huh? Even the stiff ones. They don't stabilize, fully stabilize. Like the shaft is harmonic. I need to test. I want to get a long-range camera. Going on a bunny trail, we're coming back. So what I found out was I had gone to the shop. My bow was pretty close. One little tiny rest adjustment shooting through paper. Cut the fletchings off, and it was that big. The tear was that wide. And I went, okay. So what I do is you start with the lower spine arrow. You put a 100 grain point on it, shoot through paper. With 125, 150, 175, 200, see what happens. Grab the 250, repeat. You got to be a little patient. You're going to pull some arrows. You're going to make some releases that are kind of funky. You got to allow for that. That's what fletchings are for. So if you get if you get a tear under a half inch, it's probably you. The goal is a perfect bullet hole. But if you start to get inside of a half inch and it's consistently repeatable, that's when you start turning the knocks. And it'll come in. Or it'll get, a shaft and a half wide. Okay, stop. The monkey holding the machine is part of the problem. Get over yourself. You're not perfect. And once you find, and often there's 3 combinations, like a 300 with a 150 grain point, and a 250 with a 100 grain point, and a 250 with a 150 grain point with a bullet hole, and the other stuff's a little weird. So then that's not unusual at all.
Right.
Because you're lowering the mass, you lower the spine, lower the mass, it'll fly. And then you raise the spine, raise the mass, it'll fly.
Yeah.
So then you can pick, and that's your starting point. You know that particular shaft, that spine with that point and insert, your bow loves it. So you need to stop thinking about shooting it. You need to think about the bow loves that. It's like the gun.
Right. Yeah.
It wants a 165 core lock.
Yep.
Yep. And the first time it isn't me. There's a guy named Big Mike Tanaka that helped me a ton when I first started out. He lives in Louisiana. I've never met the guy. He just helped me a ton. And I sent my bow to him to get strings put on it and square back up and all that. And he sent me a picture that he had shot. And he said, your bow wants a 250 with a 200 grain point, or a 300 grain point, or a 300 with 125. Pick your poison. And that, I had been trying to figure out what the hell I understood, and it just went poof. Like, oh, why don't we offer the ability to not spend 2 dozen arrows or 2 half dozens, get 300s and 250s, get 4 arrows and 5 points. And then when you figure it out, then you order your dozen and you know your bow likes it. And that's what fletching should do. Fletching should fix a bad release. Fletching should fix a weird angle. You're pulling up on the D-loop because the deer's close, or kneeling, or you're over here. That's what fletching's for, to correct minor mistakes. But you want this thing to take off. Here's we shot this through a pig's head in the honey public, so it's all trash. But anyway, you honestly want it to take off. As you want the knock behind the point. That's all that really matters. It's going to flex a little, but you want the knock behind the point and just flying like that. Whereas if the knock's not behind the point, it's doing this, going down range, and eventually starts to stabilize. The trouble is, I won't put something so crazy on there. Oh, I don't have any broadheads. But these things drag. You're putting a wing on the front.
Yeah.
So when you have the wing on the front and it launches weird, it's pressing against the air. It's a war if it launches a little weird. The fletching's going, nah! And the point's going, bullcrap, I'm going over here. Whereas if you get good launch conditions, the knock's going to be behind the point. It's going to press more forward, and then the fletchings are just going to do little tiny corrections. So that's the point. That's why I say it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You might shoot the test kit like 50 times. Seriously, it's a pain in the ass. But it works.
Well, then you start to get into the whole FOC thing, weight, blah, 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 and that's a whole different ballgame.
That's becoming more simple for me. How am I going to explain this? I try not to make it
difficult.
Troy.
Sorry,
no, it's fine. I'm trying to make it simple. Right now, I'm trying to just make it up. I think I know how to do this. Okay. So I want y'all to think about a weather vane. And when you see the chicken, it's like the classic rooster weather vane. How sensitive are they? Like you see them up there. They don't sit real still and then all of a sudden do this. They're kind of tittering around, right? That's because the balance point is in the dead center. And that thing has infinite ability to do this. That is a low FOC arrow. The fletchings have as much to say about the flight as the point. Remember, it's a wing. It's not a field point. Field points are liars. So we'll put our broadhead back on. When you get let's say you're at a real, typical arrow is like 8%. So you're in somewhere right in the middle. It's a little forward to center, always will be because the point's heavier than the fletchings, right? So you're in the middle. When you take the forward to center forward, okay, what happens is you've just allowed the fletchings to overwhelm everything. The point, this is the balance point. When it says go this way, the fletching has a ton of leverage now. It's long. It's not a teeter-totter. Two of the same weight kids on a teeter-totter. Right. You've just made you know what you did with FOC? You put the fat kid on one side. Yeah. He dominates the teeter-totter. That's wow, I've never said that before. Y'all guys are great. I'm very creative with y'all. We're going to do more podcasts. But,
so with that being said, I know it's probably a loaded question, but so what have you found? Is there a magic number for FOC? Like, is there something that you're looking for that's ideal and not over the top too much and not too, is there no, do you have a number?
I do want to address this. The over the top thing's impossible.
Okay.
Because as you get up into the 20s, it's super hard to get another percentage.
Okay.
Like the amount of mass you have to do, and you have to repeat the arrow flight.
Chubs up.
You can't let that be compromised.
So
right?
What is there a number that's too little? Like don't go below said number.
12 to 15 is where it starts to get 12%. It starts to get a little bit more strange. And then Ed Ashby said 19% is where he started to see wild stuff. And I agree. I've seen the same thing.
In a good way.
In a really good way. Like arrows just flying through animals. You have to go back to arrow flight, though. You can't just make a 19% arrow and start shooting it. You have to go back to all the bull crap I just talked about, and it sucks.
Right.
Okay? It sucks. It's worth every rep. You can shoot a bunch of arrows and practice your form and get your lip just right and shoot one of them stupid surprise releases, and you have terrible arrows that will not behave, and it's the arrows. Or you can build your arrows that your bow loves, and it's a much better world. I spent hours doing this stuff, and I'm not a good shot. I don't have great form. I shoot a strap release because I'm too stupid to remember to take my release with me, so I strap it to the bow. That's why I shoot a strap release. I strap my strap to the bow, and I know when I pick up my bow, I got a release. If I get one of them cool guy releases with the silver things and full thumb thing, I'll leave it in the truck. And I've tried to shoot with fingers before. It's not a good experience. I used to do it, but you can't shoot your bow that you've been tuned with a release. So 19% is where Ed said it, and it gets crazy. Over 25, they're almost unstoppable with a good broadhead. I mean, those arrows I showed you are 27. I wrote it on the side. 716 grains. They're 27 and a half.
So
and with that broadhead right there, I'm telling you, dude, that nothing stops them. Nothing.
So, all right. How do I ask this?
Just shoot.
19, we'll say 19% FOC. That's not, you have to go out of your way to achieve that, right? Like you have to put some work in. So I guess my question is, like, when you get into heavier arrow builds, is it a result of getting the FOC up? Because, you know, you have said shaft, which is, you know, only so much grain. You have your grains per inch. So say your arrow's 28 inches at whatever, 10 grains per inch, right? So 280 inches for shaft. Yep. Fletchings are pretty, I mean, what
6 grains per
I was going to say 6 to 7 grains per. So you're looking at 21 grains in veins, fletching. And if you're shooting a regular knock, you're looking at what, 4, 6 grains there, whatever.
They're 8 or 9, yeah.
So you only have so much to play with. So you have your knock, you have your veins, you have your 280 grains worth of shaft. The only way to gain FOC is now
point
at
mass.
the front of the arrow. So are your arrow builds getting so high in grains while chasing 19 plus FOC, or are you getting 19 FOC by getting the weight? Like, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
You want the lightest shaft you can shoot.
Yeah.
You want the lightest grain per inch arrow, lighter. Anything under 10 or under, you're good. Don't go. Just don't go to a 14 grain per inch. That's stupid. Don't do that. Because you're creating a heavy pushing mechanism with a broadhead on the front. You want all the weight in the front. You want something pulling the arrow.
Right. So what I found was that by going with the lightest shaft possible, like I said, you can't really do much about the fletching. You can't do much about the knock. You can only do so much with the shaft. So the lighter you can keep the shaft, it just gives you way more options. With the only variable you have at that point is at the front of the arrow.
Right.
And if you have a heavier shaft, you're more handcuffed with what you can do at the front.
If you're worried about the forward to center.
Right.
And I've already said it, I'm going to keep saying it, and you have to maintain arrow flight. If you decide to add 50 grains to your setup to go to forward to center, you better bare shaft everything again because it might fly sideways. Okay? That's the hard part. So to get to 19, right around 19 is about 550 grains on a somewhere around there, 100 grain insert, 150 grain point, not crazy, and you're going to be right there, 17 to 19%. You're going to see crazy stuff. You're going to see your arrows go through deer and go 40 yards. Like they're not there. It's wild. It's wild. Everybody bitches. I get a lot of bitching in the fall when people send me pictures. I lost my arrow. They were like 50 yards past, because it skipped off something. Hey, I'm sorry about that. I had one guy shoot through a sapling and kill a deer. He didn't see it. He didn't get good penetration, but he hit it right in hard. But it was hilarious, right? So that arrow around 550, 10 grains per inch arrow, 100 grain insert, 150 grain point, you're going to get right in there. Got to go bare shaft, all that stuff. But that's why I tell people all the time. I get this question constantly. I get 1,000 messages a month between now and November. It's all arrows. Nobody says, you're the coolest pig guy ever. They just say, hey, man, my bow's not shooting straight. So
Troy just wants to talk fishing.
Yeah, right. Or, hey, let's talk fishing. So I get this question all the time. Hey, I got one at 580, and it's a little rough, but it's 20%. And I've got one at 540 that's flying bullet. And I say 540 all day. 540, take the flight. Take the arrow flight. A little sideways heavy is no good. You're giving as much as you're getting. Right? You're not helping. If it hits a little, but it's heavy, it's still hitting a little, and there's 28 inches of arrow behind it. So when it hits a little sideways, the knock's going sideways. It's a long penetrator. So I tell people all the time, I have to convince people all the time too, hey, I really want to shoot 525, but God, 580 is shooting like, it's like magic. I'm like, brother, The results are right there. I don't know about that. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. Your bow's telling you a story. I'd listen to it. I've been married for 30 plus years. Listen to the wife sometimes. Not all the time. They can be crazy, but you know.
They're like arrows, undecisive.
Indecisive at times, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to
Very
say you're going to
indecisive.
test them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, it's always arrow flight and try to hit 19% or more. But once you get over 20, you have to start getting the tinfoil hat on.
Yeah.
Because as you go up towards 30, you add 50 grains, you get nothing for it. Forward to center wise. It starts to decrease. If you have a normal arrow and you add 300 grains or 250 grains to a 300 spine arrow, your FOC is going to go from 9% to 16 real fast. And then over that, it really gets harder to gain. It's not a 1-for-1 ratio, and that happens very quickly. Very quickly.
So I know how you do a lot of your testing, but kinetic energy, where does that play in as far as crunching numbers and like where you're
So
seeing
it's a popular,
like
it's the most popular mathematical equation because it favors speed.
okay.
So it's 1/2 mass times velocity squared. So the numbers look prettier as you go faster. Okay. However, kinetic energy is not a directional force. It's just force in all directions. Doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Momentum is the thing you should be looking at because it keeps things moving. And
My thought was like when you're talking kinetic energy is just mass, right? But what broadhead you're shooting is a variable in penetration, but it's not a fact.
Huge.
But it's not a factor in kinetic energy, right? Like
it's a factor in how much kinetic energy you lose at impact.
Right. But when you plug a number into a kinetic energy calculator, they're not asking you what broadhead you're shooting. They just spit you out a number.
That's right. But they say, "Oh, you can kill an elephant."
Right. But when it comes to
I don't know, bro.
Penetration, each broadhead's going to penetrate different with the same kinetic energy.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to figure that out. I'm trying to catch the speed after thoracic penetration. So I can't figure out how to catch it afterward. The lab radar will see it going. I can't find something to make it catch it on the backside.
You got to get your buddy there with the lasso on the side of the highway and just
and catch it, right? So we're trying to figure that out. I'd like to take a pig thorax, cut the whole rib cage off, put it up, shoot it, and catch the speed on the backside, and then note what it hit. Dead center rib, missed everything. Just hide. That matters, right? One of the more terrifying things, the kinetic energy values that the mechanical broadhead companies publish, and I don't know how they got the numbers. And I'm not a mechanical guy, but I'm not bashing on the companies. I'm just telling them they post these numbers. 40 to 60 is not an unusual and recommended KE. Okay, so we'll stay on the KE train, right? How much kinetic energy does your bow have right now?
Mid 70s, I think.
Okay, so when you bought Broadhead X with giant cutting diameter Y, and it recommends 50 pounds of kinetic energy on the box.
Yeah.
And you say, I got 75. When you bought the Broadheads, if they're right, and I don't know if they're right or wrong, you just decreased your kinetic energy by 60 or 70% when you bought the damn things, because it's going to take 50 to get it to work. That is terrifying.
I know what you're saying. Understood.
Here's the thing, to be fair. I try to be fair, right? I'm not just trying to say, oh, you're just mechanicals are dumbest. That's stupid. To be fair, I don't know how they got those numbers. And I don't know that they're accurate. High or low, I don't know. But all I can tell you is if they are 100% right, and I'll just do math, easy math, because I'm stupid. I have 100 foot-pounds of kinetic energy bow somehow. And I buy a mechanical broadhead that says it takes 50. I gave them my money, and 50% of my KE's gone. To your point about what's the broadhead, that is goddamn terrifying, because there's people out there who are shooting really light arrows, not a lot of poundage, and they're running 72 foot-pounds of KE or 70, and they've got a 50 KE mechanical on the front.
Right.
To keep it going.
Yeah. Right? So I think what you're saying is most people look at it and they go, "Oh, it says I only need 45 and I got 70, so I'm good."
Right.
But you're saying what they're doing is they're leaving you with 30. You only have 30 left now.
I think about it differently. I'm like, at impact, what happens? Well, it loses energy.
Yeah.
Whatever that number means, and I don't know if that means pass through, penetration, deployment. I don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to be honest about that. I have no idea what the parameters say. At 50, you get X. When I go to the burger joint, I give them $10. I get my burger and fries.
Yep.
Here's the cost. Da da da. I do not know what the return on investment is for the 50, and I don't know what they're saying 50 means. Pass through, full penetration, deployment. Don't know that. All I can tell you is
I don't know.
Right. All I can tell you is they say it's going to take 50. And I'm only shooting 80.
Yeah.
So 65% of your KE is theoretically gone.
Just to deployment or whatever.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah, whatever. I think if I had to get, that's a good question. I never thought of that before. I
did a whole video on it, and I didn't really get a lot of hate mail on it.
I think
really
it's
weird.
just.
I thought I would have the hate mailers coming out like crazy.
If I had to guess, I would think it's just to make it open and get in. Nothing after that. So now you're left with what do we say for
what if you
35% to get through the rest of the animal?
Let's just go total devil's advocate, okay? What if you clip the side of a scapula with it? What if the deer ducks a little bit? What do you have extra if something doesn't go perfect? I've shot a ton of animals with mechanical broadheads, and I've either had awesome or awesome bad awesome. It was never middle. I never had a 80-yard pretty good blood trail. It was either spraying awesome or what the hell happened. That's just been my experience. I had a lot of them stop. I shot a 220-pound pig with a Schwacker at 17 yards, and it stopped. And I think I know why. I think it hit the shoulder meat, hit like this, and tried to deploy, and it got hung up. It didn't get behind. Schwackers are supposed to go behind the ribs and open up. The meat on that pig was 4 inches thick on the shoulder. And I think the broadhead just pitchforked and stopped. I killed him 2 weeks later with a real broadhead, but it stopped. He ran by the deer feeder and it hit the leg and the arrow went up in the air. And I got a cut on contact and about a 650 grain arrow, and I smashed him 2 weeks later. And conversely, to once again try to be fair, I don't know how efficient the efficient is. So how efficient is this? We just know that it goes whistling through stuff, but we don't know the numbers, right?
Right, yeah.
We just know Magnet Stinger is pretty solid, and if you shoot them and they're flying straight, and you hit them in the ribs, your arrow's going in the dirt. They don't stop, right? So that's anecdotal. And like I said, I try to be fair. I don't know. All I know is they guarantee you that you're going to lose 60% of your KE when you buy them. That's written on the box. Terrifying. Terrifying. When they work, they're awesome. There's nothing
just out of curiosity to paint the picture, when you had that bad experience with that pig, was that a heavy setup with a mechanical, or was
this is when I was in the dark. I wasn't talking to anybody. I was not the ranch fairy. I was just me. And I had a 670 grainer tuned up on my switchback, and I did not believe it. I was so slow. It was so slow. I was like, there's no way that's going to work. This is 2014 or something.
Yeah.
But I was trying, and I was shooting a few pigs with like 525. It's so slow. How is that ever going to do anything? And I shot him with that mechanical, and I said, okay, I guess I'll try it. It was 220 pounds, because I killed him and weighed him. And the second one, the fletchings were in his chest, and an arrow slid out the backside. And I went, okay. And that was because I had an underspined arrow, wasn't flying good. I guarantee you. So, because I hit him just right in the shoulder, in the rib cage and stuff, but I had a 300 spine arrow with a giant point. I didn't know what I was doing. All I did was build a really heavy, high forward center arrow and kind of flew kind of okay. And I really didn't have a clue. That's why I keep saying arrow flight. I spent so many hours trying to figure that out. But that was the last time I ever did it. And then the heaviest arrow I've ever hunted with is 1,035, and I killed 3 pigs with it. And out of a switchback, I bet it's going 170, and it just kills them, dude. You better know where the distance is. You can't be off by 2 yards. It'll hit the dirt. It's flying like a javelin. But when it gets to them, it just bloop. It's the craziest thing you ever saw. It's just
Steve, what was I shooting? 806, 906, something like that?
I just remember the 7 something.
7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
I shot a turkey and it left its feet. I never seen nothing like that in my life.
Yeah, that's called momentum.
So, Troy, so that brings up a good question there. So you said you can't be off by 2 yards because you're shooting 1,100.
I just did it to do it.
Arrow.
It's an elephant arrow. You know,
sorry, I threw a public bus at him.
So let's get back to whitetail deer, tree stands, public land, swinging from the saddles and all that shit, right? Variable distances. Whitetail deer move a little bit faster. They jump the string, yada, 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 right? So, like, where do we find the happy medium, best of both worlds, where we're, like, not stupid heavy, but we can still get some FOC, but we're still got a decent pin gap where that deer could come in at 23 yards and the next minute it could be at 37 yards. Like, we want a little bit of speed, right? We need decent trajectory because you got branches everywhere and we're not trimming shooting lanes and all that stuff. So obviously we don't want to be 400 grains at 310 feet per second, but we also don't want to be at 1,100 grains at
that's impractical
per
for what
second.
you're talking about.
So where are we look like? What's realistic for our style of hunting?
I would say 550 to 600 with perfect arrow flight and a single level. And I'll address the moving of the deer. I get this all the freaking time. I did a whole video on it on time to target. The deer are moving at random speeds. It is not freaking gravity. If it was gravity, it's a muscular reaction, and they all do different crap. Some of them roll, some of them flip, some of them spin, some of them drop.
Yeah.
Some of them don't drop a lot. Some of them just hunch up, and the next one just is on the dirt, and you miss it. I don't care what you're shooting, you're missing it, right? So I did a whole video on that. I showed deer standing still. I showed deer get like completely out of the way. Arrow's perfect, and they're gone. Like, it hits the hair on their back. You're never hitting that deer. I don't care what you're shooting. And that particular shot was a fast arrow. That deer was just too fast, right? Or hyped up or whatever. And then I had some stuff in the middle. Had a deer that went like that, just like out of the way. So my concern is, since that is a variable and you do not know, we are going to assume you have a perfect release and you did not pull the shot and you're not 4 inches left. We're going to assume you put the arrow on target, okay? How much are they going to move? We don't know. What's going to get in the way that you did not intend when you released the arrow? The minute you hit the release, your fate is doomed because they're freaking voting. You shoot. We haven't missed. I'm not being sarcastic. You put a good shot. You had the range right. There's no mistakes. And they pull the scapula in the way because they're voting. From a tree stand, they roll a little bit and drop, and the scapula gets in the way. It was up, and it went like that. Because when they tuck, the humerus is like this, and the scapula is like that when they're standing there. When they duck, it goes like this. It doesn't go that way because they're not jumping. When they duck, and then they roll. And all of a sudden, you've got this flat thing you did not expect to hit. You were not intending to hit it. And they said, hey, screw you. Here comes the scapula. You better off with something that'll probably break it. Because if they don't move, it all works. The bow hunting community is happy. When they stand still, we're good. When they don't stand still, it's the what if. I have not had a pig stand still yet. They're pretty jumpy and run around a lot, move, and they're a pain in the ass to try to shoot at. 12 yards is really good on them because they don't have a chance. The 25, it's a shit show at 25. It's hard to hit them good. They move so much when you shoot at them. I have whole herds of pigs on video jumping the string. You're shooting at the target animal and 6 pigs, they all roll. I did cha-cha music on one of my videos. Dan, 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 dan. It's freaking hilarious. I thought so. So that's the hardest part for me now. The KE and the momentum thing. If you raise the mass, you raise the momentum, and it's a lot. And then they introduce something to the shot line you didn't intend. Can it go through it? And by the way, it's moving. The scapula is moving. Like you're coming, and it's moving when it hits it. So it's already trying to drag the shaft down. And it gets to be a hard question. If you're perfect and nothing moves and your shot placement is right and they don't do anything, you win. 400 grains, 700 grains. When they jump the string and introduce the scapula, 700 grains with a single bevel, dead.
Somebody just said, I see people make a point about arrow speed. How often do people test the speed of a hunting setups if it seems like speed can be marketed like MPG in cars?
They never test it. People also don't shoot their broadheads through a chronograph. It's not the same.
That's a good point.
And often your broadheads will hit a little lower. They're dragging.
Yeah.
Especially past 40. So inside of 40, I haven't seen this, but when you really start shooting a long way, a lot of broadheads they're dragging. They're dragging in the air because they're big surface area, right? It's like throwing your hand into the wind. They're dragging. So if you shoot field points, they're super aerodynamic. It's only the fletching's dragging, and then you drop a broadhead on it. I don't care if it's a 2-blade stinger or whatever, something simple. They're still dragging. You get past 40, damn it, you better check your broadhead impact. And you don't blame your sights and you don't blame your bow. It's just aerodynamics, inefficiency. It's that simple. You just need to know the hold off at that distance.
Yeah. So I don't know how to ask this question either. So perfect world, you're bare shaft tuned. So I guess this doesn't matter, but a lot. Shit,
could.
My work phone's going off. That sucks. They can wait. Talking the ranch fairy. So hate to say it, a lot of guys aren't doing that, right? So throughout the year, we go way back in the day, a lot of big fixed broadheads. We used to have these big giant fletchings too, right? Mm-hmm. And then along the line, say late 90s, early 2000s, we started going like blazer veins, right? Through these little tiny veins.
But they're tall.
Right.
Tall matters.
But they're getting small. They got smaller, but then the big fixed blades came back they got popular again, right? Mm-hmm. So what's going on with some of these people that have these big fixed blades with little tiny veins? Is it the blades in the front? Because they're basically big steel fletchings on the front. Are they?
That's correct.
Are they taking over because our veins are too small for what we got going on in the front?
Yep. If you have really small veins, you're better off getting a little larger vein and a taller vein rather than a short vein.
Now, should they be taller than the radius of the broadhead in the front, or not necessarily?
You can't really think of it like that because you don't know the dragginess of the broadhead. You just have to shoot broadheads and find out. But it really does help to have your launch conditions be accurate and do some bear shafting before you start shooting broadheads so they do launch with the knock behind the point.
Then it shouldn't matter at that point.
If you're going to fletch and you're going to change fletchings and you're going to increase size, then keep the height you've got and just add a half inch to it and try that, right? Mm-hmm. If they're a little crazy. But your best thing to do would be to cut the fletchings off and shoot it through a piece of paper. And if it tears 4 inches left, there you go. Because it is launching with fletchings. It doesn't tear that. It doesn't sweep that sideways, but it's coming off a little bit, and the broadhead starts to go to the side, and then it starts doing this. Mm-hmm. And it's like this. I got about 5 minutes, and then we can do this again later on if you want, and we'll catch up. But when you have a car and you're drifting in the ditch, which, of course, no one ever did.
Never.
But some of us did throw it sideways in the ditch when it rained. You have gas to go across so let's imagine this stripe down the middle is the shot line at your deer. Your arrow takes off into the ditch. This is an extreme example. In a car, you push the gas, you go across the shot line, an equal distance, let's say it's perfect, and you get sideways and you push the gas, and you could make a perfect S because you have more acceleration as you go down range because the car has an engine. Arrows do not. The minute that thing takes off in the ditch, it has lost speed. It will cross the shot line at a shorter distance, and then it'll cross the shot line at a shorter distance, and what will happen is your shot line's here, and it will start taking off to the side because it doesn't get a chance to overcorrect to the other side in equal distance. Like I said, your brain will melt. Don't do this stuff. It's the worst.
Ranch Fairy, we'll have to do a part 2, but before you take off, man, just tell us what drives you outdoors.
What?
What drives you outdoors?
As I gotten older, I just like being out there now. I'm appreciating all the stuff going on around me. And I really like, I know I get a lot of hate mail and a lot of bashing on the message boards and all that stuff. I understand. I don't look at any of that crap, but I help so many people. There's nothing better. I'm fishing in the fall. The fall's awesome fishing. And to get all these photographs from people who, learned to sharpen, gotten a real broadhead. I can't tell you how many pictures I've gotten that said, I've never had a pass through. I thought I missed. Because the arrow went through them so fast.
Mm.
That's what drives me. That's what will keep me on. The day that I think I'm not helping people who were like me 10 years ago and just were lost in the shops and there was all this vernacular and you couldn't understand. And people just look at you like, well, yeah, your bow's not tuned, stupid. What does that mean? I've been doing this 3 years. The minute that stops and I can't help people, I'll turn the damn thing off. I got things to do. I got a 30-inch trout, 10-pound bass to catch. Just click the damn YouTube off and I don't have to talk to people. But so that's what drives me now is helping people like me who didn't have a clue just whack stuff. And I get hundreds of pictures. If you follow me on Instagram in the fall, you won't see me. You'll see me with fish, but you'll see a bunch of people because I like to celebrate people's success. I don't care about me. Who gives a crap? Just some old fart. Been married forever. Who cares?
Troy, tell everyone where they can find you, follow along, learn more, and really deep dive into what the Ranch Fairy is really about.
So I got lucky with the stupid name. Nobody wanted it, and it's super unique, and nobody forgets it. So if I was Troy Fowler, badass tattoo man outdoors, nobody would remember that. But you can go to the Googler or whatever, type in the Ranch Fairy, the YouTube channel will come up. You'll see some goofy ass picture of me probably, God knows what in my fishing rod in my mouth or dome arrows or whatever. I'm also on Instagram. I post a lot about that, about random things on Instagram. Ranch Fairy, pretty straightforward. And I have Facebook, but it's stupid. So I got to 5,000 subscribers on Facebook and I had to change my account and I don't give a damn. So I didn't. So don't look for me on Facebook because Facebook's for old people. Boring. Go to
Old
Instagram.
married people.
Yeah, old married people, wrinkly old guys like me. So I really appreciate you. Let's do a 2.0. I've got something going on this evening. I got to go. But,
good luck fishing tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna whack them. I'm gonna hook them in the face, man. And please do call me later this year because there's got to be more questions. And then if y'all get the audience questions, let's just go through those. Sorry, we didn't get to talk to the audience much.
It's all good. We appreciate it, Troy.
Didn't take my Prozac today. See you guys later.
Hey, everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here.